Okay, at this point, the stretching of the head is complete. You can see it's pretty much turned white around the entire surface. So what we're now going to do is we're going to mark the holes where the ropes are going to go for tensioning the head when it's mounted on the Okedo shell. To do that, I've got a template that's been made at the diameter of the ring, and this template has 11 holes evenly spaced around the perimeter. It could be 10, 11, or 12, which are common numbers for the number of holes that might be in the head of an Okedo. So I'm using clamps with plastic kind of rubber ends on here, so that when I clamp this to the shell, to the head, I don't damage the skin. Because if you put a rip or a hole or a tear in it at any point, that's pretty much the end of your head. So I'm going to mark these again with chalk. Because it easily washes off. It's very easy to see. And once these holes are marked in place, I'll be able to begin stitching the head to the ring. And when I stitch around the outer perimeter of the ring here, I will stitch around these holes, or these markings for these holes.
The holes, they are pretty.
So at this point we're going to start stitching the head. Now there are going to be two stitching lines that go around the perimeter of this head. One is going to be traced along just inside of this metal ring, and it's going to go around each one of these hole markings. And the second one is going to go inside of that, and that's just going to hold the head flat to hold the bottom head flat against the top head. The outer stitch holds most of the tension of the head, so that is going to be a very fine stitch. The stitches are going to be very close together. The inner stitch line that holds the head flat does not have much of the load on it, so it is going to be a much larger stitch, coarser stitch, fewer per inch. So what I'm using to stitch here is a leather sewing awl, and I'm using artificial sinew for the thread. You don't have to use artificial sinew, you can use any kind of waxed thread to do this. The way this tool works is you press through the head to get started here. We're going to start in between two of these holes, just on the inside of this ring. Alright, so you're going to need to pull through enough of the sinew that it can go through around the perimeter of the head about twice. That'll give you plenty of extra. Let's see. Alright, so you move on to your second stitch, push through, generate a loop here, like that. Find the end of the sinew, run it through the loop, and pull the awl back, and cinch up this stitch. Move on to the next stitch. Try to keep your stitch spacing as evenly as possible. Then find the end of the loop, run it through. Okay. Make sure you tension those stitches after each time. Okay, so we've done a few stitches along the edge here, and we've got to our first hole marker. So I'm going to stop short of that hole marker, and I'm going to stitch in a arch around this hole marker. And I want this to be fairly large so that I can get a roughly 3/8 inch hole cut here so that I can put 5/16 inch rope through. So now that I've got this point, I'm going to start going down instead of across. First stitch through that direction. Finish the next one here. So now you can see that I've stitched in an arch all the way around this hole, giving plenty of space for me to cut a hole through here. So I'm going to repeat this pattern, working my way all the way around the edge, going around each of these holes until I meet up with where I started. At that point, there's going to be a final stitching pattern that will do.